I've sold many automations to businesses as well as used them in my own businesses, both a local service business and my online companies. So we're going to cover 5 different automations that you can actually sell to businesses and they'll be more than happy to pay for. And the first one is the money is in the follow-up. Most companies know this. They know they need to follow up, but they just don't have the systems in place to actually do so, whether that be SMS reminders or emails, because a lot of people are satisfied after one conversation, right? So someone calls them, they say, oh, okay, we'll think about it and we'll get back to you. But they don't have a text sequence to automatically text that person and say, hey, have you made up your mind yet? Hey, have you thought about this? Hey, we're running this discount. Hey, we're running this offer. And the crazy stat is 80% of sales need at least 5 touch points. So whenever I'm talking to my clients, I'm always going to bring this up. You have to bring up the statistics because most businesses are not having 5 touch points, but that's what you need in order to convert. 99% of my audience is men. So it's like asking a girl out on a date, right? Like you send her one text, maybe she forgets, maybe she's being inundated from a bunch of other guys. So you have to send her a text again, just a reminder. That's the exact same process with sales. You have to follow up, right? They go on throughout their day, they completely forget what's going on, and they need a follow-up text. And the beauty about this one is it's very clear to see, hey, how many of those customers that called you guys or contacted your company actually received a text back? How many received a second text? Oh, none. And then you can very clearly see, okay, and that's where I'll dig further and I'll say, well, how many of those people that we sent a second text to actually converted? And most businesses aren't tracking that shit. They have no idea. So it just makes it even more obvious for us in the sales process. The second is speed to lead. The first one to respond always wins. A rule I've always had in any of the companies that I run, it's a 5-minute response window. So as soon as a lead comes in, whether you're running Facebook ads or getting leads and you have a VA picking up the phone to call, it does not matter. Not only is this important for your sales team to actually make sure you're speaking to the customer quickly to not let them go, but what does that communicate to the customer? It communicates to them, oh, these people are serious. They're on it, right? They actually care. They're professional. And I've had people in my companies, a lead comes in, and whether it was myself or somebody else, pick up the phone and call them immediately, and they're completely surprised that we're on it. Why? Because the average business takes 47 hours to reply to people. 47 hours. It's almost 2 full days to reply. But you know this because if you've ever filled out a form on any kind of service business or even an agency, it takes a long time for most businesses. And the businesses that we're going to be working with, even if they're reaching out to people, they have some kind of auto response. And more often than not, they'll get that first response just to make sure that the person knows that they're engaged. And then they don't actually follow up or call them. Like I said, most companies just have that automatic autoresponder. So you'll fill out a form and it'll say, hi, this is Jim from Joe's Plumbing. Thanks so much for filing the form out. We'll be right in touch. But instead, you can have it so when a lead form comes in, we have Claude Code send automatic text messages like I have in my community, where it automatically sends personalized messages and literally goes down one by one and responds to each one of your leads. That is like next level because now they see, oh, wow, this person actually just sent me a personalized message based on my current situation. And it makes it appear as if a person actually just read their message and is sending them a follow-up, which is extremely professional. And the more personalized the message is, the higher likelihood of driving sales. And like all these automations, really just depends on the company's volume, but you can easily sell this for thousands and thousands of dollars depending on how much that's actually going to earn them. Because the thing that you're going to see with a lot of these automations is most businesses have 2 problems. It's time and money. Most businesses are wasting a lot of time on things that could be automated. And that means what? That means that they're spending time on useless tasks instead of actually trying to do things that make money. And then a lot of them are also spending too much money on employees or softwares or a billion different things they don't actually need to and aren't actually giving them the ROI that they think they are. So you have these 2 problems, and both of them we can completely knock out with our automations. The next one is database reactivation. This is the one that I always encourage people, especially inside my community. I show them how to actually go and reactivate their customers' database to give the customers the quickest results possible. A database reactivation campaign is going to be the most powerful way to nurture your leads and actually turn them into sales ever. Why? Because the problem is they're spending money on ads, and think about how they're acquiring these customers. There's an expense for every single customer that comes to the door. So what they do, most companies will just have all of them come through the door, and then they just open up the door on the backside, say, okay, see you later. And it's like, hold on a second. Once you have them, in your grasp, we need to hold on to them forever. We need to constantly be sending messages, reminders, deals, specials, offers. You see this with e-commerce brands. I get texts from Chipotle every day. We need to be sending reactivation campaigns to warm up those cold leads. And most businesses are not doing this. But how many times have you gotten a text and you've thought, actually, you know what? 3 burritos for $15. Like, I'll take that any day of the week. And you head over to Chipotle and get yourself some burritos. So that's the exact same thought process behind this. But imagine that for a contractor, a construction company, a home remodeler, an e-com company, a private jet salesman, a boat salesman, someone who has these high ticket or high volume customers. They need to constantly be sourcing leads. So if you've already paid for those people one time, why would you pay for them again? Why not just send emails, text messages, and follow-ups to actually reactivate that group of people and try to extract as much value out of what you've already worked so hard for so you can make more money? And what's funny is that most people, when they're trying to sell services to businesses, they always think about what they can do that's new, right? But what they really need to be thinking about is, what can we do with your current situation so that we can just get you the fastest results possible? Because that way they think very highly of us, but they're also getting the results that match. And this helps a ton with offering other things, because instead of saying, here's this brand new plan that I think we should implement into your business, no matter what system you're selling, if you just hand it over to the business owner and say, okay, here's this automation, people have a very hard time with kind of getting over that hill in their minds, especially now. That's one of the biggest things that you'll notice on calls. Anytime you get on any kind of a sales call, it's very difficult for people and business owners to kind of get over that hump, right? It's normally not that your service is bad necessarily. It's just that they had a difficult time getting over the hump of change. Change is very difficult to try to implement into a business unless you actually understand how to frame it correctly. So with this, it's a very easy way to get them quick results, get them on your side early, and then move towards those other automations and more expensive upsells. Number 4 is document processing. A lot of companies have tons and tons of documents. Think insurance, lawyers, accountants. There's also very niche companies in regards to like compliance. A friend of mine has a company and he does cybersecurity with some different compliance work. And he was telling me just like how much documentation these companies have and how much they have to constantly keep in order. And this is extremely boring, but the riches are in the niches here. We're in the AI automation space. And whether you're on Twitter or Instagram, where we get a lot of the information ourselves, but it's still difficult to keep up. And that's why I have my AI systems, like I have my community that are constantly feeding me new information, because otherwise it's very difficult to spend hours a day online trying to scroll through information. Do you really think somebody who wakes up and goes to their job and is just doing bookkeeping work or invoices or documentation, they're not into AI, right? That's already a lot of work that they have to do. And most company owners are going to be a bit older and more stuck in their ways. And you wouldn't believe just the documentation mess that these companies have. And it's awesome to see their reaction when suddenly they realize that all this boring work that they spend hours per week doing can be completely automated, scanned through, organized, put in a spreadsheet. It's like magic for these guys. Number 5 is the stickiest automation on the list. This is internal reporting, the one they can never cancel. So every company has someone whose job it is to compile information other people need in order to make the decision. So if we're talking about sales numbers, close rates, appointments booked, client reports, project updates, it's not difficult, but it's very manual. Like, who wants to check in with your salespeople and say, hey, how did it go? Who booked? Okay, cool. What notes do you have on that? No, all this needs to be completely automated. And whether that's daily Slack updates, client reports, instead of monthly reports where like they have no idea what's going on, you could just send them a weekly report. Now let's actually bring this into a real world application. Again, construction jobs, any kind of job or anything that requires documentation and progress reports. If you can fully automate that for someone, it completely removes the headache of these customers calling and, losing things and not having the right documentation. There's so many use cases that no one's talking about. Anything dealing with insurance companies, anything that has any documentation where these clients need reporting, they need updated. You could think of 1,000,001 different solutions. All this time in human history, time has never worked this fast with the progression of AI. They've never had to worry about something legitimately completely replacing entire departments of their company or speeding up 100xing the speed of their direct competitors. They think that, oh, well, we'll figure that out in the next 6 months or the next year, but they have no idea what's coming for them. So it's wide open. Another big one is live alerts, instant notifications when something breaks. Something in the process is broken, something in the process goes wrong. You want those live alerts that come right back to either the owner or the manager so they can go and deal with and extinguish the problem. Now, a bonus I added in here for you guys is a voice agent. And the reason why voice agents are so awesome for a lot of companies, number one, if it's a construction company and each job is like $10, $15, $20,000 and they're missing calls left and right, or maybe they go to sleep and they miss a call overnight, which happens a lot more than you'd expect. Or maybe it happens in their off hours. Well, there are no off hours if you have an agent. And the biggest thing that you have to make clear to companies is that there's a difference between a voice agent and a voicemail. That's a big thing because most companies think they're fine. They have a voicemail. It says leave a message and that's it. And they think, oh, okay, that's great. That technically counts as we're collecting the lead, but they don't realize how many people, number one, hang up when they actually reach the voicemail. And if these projects or whatever service that they offer is several thousands of dollars, like if you think about a lawyer or even a plumber or any of these companies, these guys aren't doing jobs for $200, $300. I mean, they'll charge thousands and thousands of dollars for very simple things now, just with how expensive everything is right now. If they miss a call or two per day, that could potentially be 10, 15, 20, $30,000 a month, depending on the business. And the thing is, like, most companies, even if they're smaller, even if that's like $1,500 a month or $2,000 a month, the way you have to position to these companies is whether you're making $2,000 or $10,000 more per month, you're going to pay me a fraction of the amount of money that you're going to be making from those calls coming in. And you're guaranteeing that you're answering every single call that comes in. How much more will that make them? Because most businesses are missing 30 to 40% of their calls. Again, I know I have real businesses, and when you pick up the phone to call somebody again, oh, I already went with somebody else. Oh, I went with your competitor because you just didn't answer the phone. And that's another pain point that you can harp on with these business owners, because that's the reality of what they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And this is the biggest skill set right now in 2026 in the current state of AI automation, having the skill set of common sense, creativity, and actually being able to implement these systems for businesses and be the clarity for these companies. They don't want someone to come in and explain a billion different automations. No one's buying the workflow. They're buying the 10 hours a week that they're saving. They're buying the fact that they can stop losing all the leads that they're spending thousands of dollars per month to get. They want their business running while they sleep. So when we're talking to the business owner, we want to expose these problems. You have to ask the right questions, right? If 500 new clients showed up tomorrow, you know, what system is going to break? If 3 people called your business right now at the exact same time, how would you handle that? Oh, we'd answer one and the other 2 would go to voicemail. Or we'd answer one and the other 2 just, well, we'd call them back. Okay, well, have you ever tried calling someone for this kind of service? Yeah. And what do you usually do when someone doesn't answer? Well, after someone doesn't answer, I usually call around. Right. So who do you think is going to get the business? The person who answers the phone or the person who sends them off to somebody else or, you know, doesn't answer at all? So that would be an example. Where's the problem? Where's the pain point? Where's the lever that we can pull to save more time, save more money immediately for them? And then we just remove it. So if you want to join my community where I'll be releasing all the stuff that we talked about today in the form of Claude skills and automations, I just added 50 new Claude code skills and MCPs to the group. So if you want to join, I'll leave that link down below to Dylan Automates Pro, and you can grab all the rest of my resources in there as well. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.